I'm Simon Redfern. I'm CEO of TESOBE, founder of the Open Bank Project. This is Ismail Chaib, our COO. So what is the Open Bank Project then? Well, it's an API platform built especially for banks. It's got 150 APIs which come out of the box. PSD2 compatible, of course, so it supports access to account, transaction, making payments, API, onboarding, security challenges, and so on. But obviously, at 150 APIs, we go way beyond PSD2 compliance. And we're supporting the next generation of fintech apps and services.
Old hands at this. Do you still get nervous before you go up there?
I can hear something. Okay. Now. Our technology has been used by banks including Santander, that's coming up. We're using it for a hackathon in the next couple of weeks. Emirates National Bank of Dubai, BNP Paribas, to name but a few. And so we started as an open source project, but now obviously we've been working with the world's largest banks, and also also the regulators and central banks. So one of our sandboxes was used by the Australian Payments Network, for instance. We work with Central Bank in Portugal. Now, when developers come to us, and we've got a large community of like over 8,000 fintech developers, they're building apps and services, and they want to partner with you, the banks, and we put developers and fintech startups in touch with the banks, and our API technology, our open source API technology, stands in between and facilitates this interaction. So when developers come to Open Bank Project API for the first time, they're getting an API key. Ismail is showing that on our developer portal. So they register an API key, and then their app can connect to the API. Yeah? So very simple self-service procedure. Lots of funny long letters and numbers there that they put in their apps and services. And here we see the API Explorer. So down the left, we see a list of 150 APIs, and the developers use this interface to architect their applications. Yeah. So even developers need documentations and ways to try out APIs. So Ismail is logged in here as a customer, Robert, actually. And so we can see how Robert could actually have access to this interface. It's like an OAuth app, like any other app which talks to the API. So he can get his accounts and transactions. But what happens if, so this is making RESTful calls to the API in real time, just like an app would. Now, what happens if Ismail is working for the bank? He wants to create an ATM resource over the API, perhaps using another application. Well, he'll need a certain role to do that, and he can use the API Explorer to request a role, which then the API manager later can basically grant or deny. Yeah? And we'll see that coming up in the API manager a little bit later. OK, so developers are using the API Explorer to find out how the API works. And this is an open standard. It can be an open source technology. It can be deployed at many, many banks. So developers like this because it's easy to architect and build their fintech applications. We're going to show a couple of examples now. So if we could switch to the tablet, the overhead. Yeah, OK. So Rooster Money is basically an app making money management for kids fun. Yeah? It's made by a very cool team. They're based in London. We've got brochures at our stand, so come and see us later if you want to. Now, let's imagine Ismail is a papa. A little bit young for that, right? But imagine he's got a son called Florin. And Florin's been doing some good work in fixing the garden shed for his dad, Ismail. Ismail is rewarding him with £5. It's calling the Open Bank Project payment APIs in the background, transferring money between different accounts. Okay, and then he's got another son, Simon, and Simon's got a bunch of money in his account. He wants to take some money out and put it towards some headphones that he wants to get. So yeah, Rooster Money, great app for kids getting their first interaction with bank accounts and so on and so forth. Now, on another note, we have Akane. If you could go back to the laptop, please. So Akane is a smart management application for SMEs, smart cash flow management for SMEs. And it's taking transaction data from Open Bank Project APIs, it's combining it with other data from the market, and it's predicting cash flow, the forecast, and so on. And you can update data to help you do this. Okay, so these are just two applications which were very, very easy to connect to core banking systems. So I mentioned the sandboxes and so on before, but lately we are connecting to core banking systems. For instance, Bank Lumi in Tel Aviv, Hanseatic Bank in Hamburg, Société Générale in Paris, and so we're ready for prime time now. But now, APIs are not only about fun and cool applications. Obviously, the APIs have got to be managed. You've got to control access. So here we're showing the Open Bank Project API Manager. If we go to the users, we're on the Consumers tab. So this is a list of apps which are connected to the API. Yeah, and as the API Manager, you can enable and disable them, and you can also see what roles people have as a user. So Ismail can see his own user here. These are the rights he has on the API. We can go to entitlement requests. So earlier we requested this entitlement for a certain role in the API Explorer. We see it here. We can accept it or deny it. And then we can see metrics, right? So metrics, which APIs are being used, and you can query and do real-time things. Now, APIs are also about surprises. And for instance, cars will talk to your APIs, and this is a Moog synthesizer talking to the Open Bank Project API. It's the Internet of Things. How is that going to speak to your APIs in the future? And there we go. Come and see us after, please.